Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be looking into the question, how do they view you and the connection? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Lepidolite, along with the Nature card. Group 2 is the Amazonite, along with the Community card. And group 3 is the Clear Calcite, along with the Preparation card. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups, or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And the video is going to jump to a close-up of these crystals and these cards to make it easier for you to make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Lepidolite, along with the Nature card. So for starters, with this energy of nature, they see you as somebody who's standing in your authenticity. You are radiating this natural charisma, this natural beauty. They're seeing you at this point in time as very much in your element. So whatever you're focusing on, maybe things that you're posting on social media, some kind of a glow up, a leveling up that has taken place, things that you've prioritized in terms of health and wellness, maybe getting back to basics in terms of some spiritual practice or a wellness practice, a fitness practice, for example, that this person is seeing that this suits you very well. It's a good fit for you. This can also tie into the idea of creative pursuits and projects that you're putting out there. They're seeing you as somebody very talented, that you're a natural, you're very gifted at whatever it is you're doing. Maybe this is artistic endeavors, creative work. For some of you, this has to do with parenting skills, that you're a natural nurturer, a very caring and compassionate mother or a father. This is something that they're very much drawn to you as you are standing in this truth and in this glow of who you are very genuinely. So I'm going to get some tarot and oracle cards to dive into this a little bit further and see how else they view you and the connection right now. Okay, so we have the King of Swords, which is air energy, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. Seven of Cups, which is water energy, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. Seven of Pentacles, which is earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Secret. Intention. And divination, guides, Ogham, tree spirits. So this energy of the Ogham and the tree spirits, and kind of this idea of like a tree ring, some sort of cycle that you have moved through in your life, that you are in a position where you are very growth oriented. Maybe this is something you're trying to grow in terms of a business, something in terms of, the energy of the glow up, growing your spiritual knowledge, growing your confidence in some manner, that you've really gone back to basics. You may be deeply connected with your ancestors, with your ancestry, something that you had perhaps had a lot of interest in, a lot of passion in, maybe a project, a creative endeavor that you had put on the shelf, put on the back burner. Maybe this is something that you discussed with this person at one point in time. Kind of the energy of, if only, or in the perfect world, I would be doing this for a living, or it would be nice if I could make money off of a certain thing, or if I could incorporate more of something into my daily routine. They're seeing in some way that you have really prioritized yourself and your healing and your wellness, that you have, if necessary, carved out time, that you are not afraid to cut things out of your life that are dead weight, things that are very draining or limiting or have passed their expiration date in some manner, with the interest of focusing on sort of flourishing, moving in the direction of abundance, in the direction of fresh starts, in the direction of expansion. This is something that they really admire about you, this energy almost even of creative projects or other things that you'd been invested in, maybe even connections or the connection with this person, and some kind of energetic imbalance that had happened, and the bravery with which you cut away. It's almost the sense of, with the Seven of Cups and this King of Swords right here, tolerating no nonsense. You're not entertaining illusions. You're not entertaining flimsy energies. You're not entertaining like a wishy-washy sort of energy. You're very determined. You're very patient. It's almost the sense of that you'll do without until the genuine thing comes in, that you are not in an energy of impulsivity, but are really in this energy of kind of like introspection at this point in time, being very intentional about like facing certain fears, making very deliberate moves forward rather than being carried by kind of very chaotic emotions. It may have been that you came out of a very stormy period emotionally, perhaps after having sort of dealt with this person in the aftermath of anything that has kind of gone awry in this situation, and they're seeing that you've stabilized in some way. You've gained some balance. You've grounded yourself, and you are now dedicated to moving past illusions and fear-based programming that may have kept you very stuck in place, dimming your light, playing small with your life, or entertaining things that were very illusion-based or were just kind of like heaviness, very much depleting, a lack of reciprocity that in some way you've course-corrected from that. You're somebody who's moving out of this energy of kind of secret longings, secret wishes, holding a lot of your truth, your authenticity, your light, aspects of your personality within, and you are instead moving into this energy of bold declaration with the King of Swords here. You're standing in the truth of who you are, for better or worse. They're seeing you as somebody who's very much balanced in terms of the polarities of light and shadow within. That at this particular stage in time, maybe as a result of what you've experienced in the connection with them up to this point in time, that you've really started to prioritize moving out of the energy of just projecting blame and starting to really search within to see, what has my role been in this circumstance? How does this relate to maybe patterns, other occurrences, sort of like familiar narratives that keep playing out in a lot of different situations, that you're in this energy right now of taking personal responsibility, being very proactive in seeking to understand yourself, again, the nature of these patterns within, seeking the deeper meaning or lesson in these things, and are very forward focused at this point. So if you had been stuck in place or stuck in a lack mentality, they're seeing you as somebody who is transcending that you have transcended it in a lot of ways, even if it still feels like it's a work in progress for you. There's something that they are able to perceive, maybe see in the material world about you, kind of like watching from afar, watching from the shadows, from the sidelines in a certain way. It's kind of giving them a feeling of having missed out with this aspect or this face of you that they are seeing. This is also something that they may even just be the idea of divination, kind of like picking up intuitively. They're sensing a shift in your energy. What may have felt kind of like the energy of like a pursuit, where they were feeling very pressured. They were feeling very tethered to the density of things that had fallen apart or had not gone according to plan, expectations that you may have had knowingly or unknowingly, like a pressure that was placed upon them. There's an alleviation. Almost your redirection of focus has taken off of them in some manner this aspect, energetically speaking, where they were feeling they almost needed to outrun the connection. You've created breathing room for yourself. You're creating space for yourself in your life, and it is translating to this person where they also have this room to breathe and kind of look around. It is leading to this energy now, though, of curiosity, kind of like the tables having turned. This is like Wheel of Fortune energy right here as well, with kind of this idea of the sphere and sort of the rings. So this energy of the runner has now become the chaser to a certain extent. There's a lot of curiosity that's been piqued, almost like what they've sensed about you energetically, or what they're able to decipher or discern, maybe things that you're putting on social media about where your attentions are focused at this point in time. It's making them curious to know more, almost to kind of try to find out what's your secret. How are you accomplishing such a dramatic shift from the energy you'd been sitting in before, or how they'd been able to perceive you before. It's something that it may also be very inspirational in terms of dedication that you have applied to changing your life in some manner, moving into a better season for yourself, cultivating abundance for yourself. It's inspiring this person to really start to get serious about that in their own life, or to start to look around and to recognize how fear and lack and limitations, and a sense of, too little too late, or, maybe thinking like they're too set in their ways to change, they're too old to change, it's too late now to try and make up for the past in a lot of other aspects and areas. The changes that you have made have really sparked this potential, this sense of potential within them, that if you can do it, so can they, in whatever way that looks like for them. So there's definitely a lot of focus on you at this point in time, and it's a very positive energy right here. They're very impressed with what they're seeing about you. In terms of the connection, it feels to be something that the timing might still be off, or there's a lot that still remains very unsettled. It's very unpredictable. It's very unknown what the future could hold in this situation. There may be kind of a lot of fear that's still holding them back, hesitation, a bit of intimidation as well about the growth that you're doing, seeing you in your fullness of light and authenticity, or as you're stepping into that more, to where it's almost like they're needing to play catch up with you at this point in time. A feeling of that, they need more time, or they're lagging behind in some way, or they still need to move into this space of balance within in order to be able to create balance, or to continue to flow in the momentum of what's possible with you going forward. But you have their attention. They're very curious. It feels like they're looking at you, they're watching you, and it's also forcing them to look within themselves as well. So I'm going to get some messages from their higher self and see, what does this person want to tell you right now? Okay, and they say, I want to tell you how I feel. So they may be wanting to reach out and congratulate you, strike up conversation, open up to more of this depth of how they're seeing you in your authenticity, and it feels to in some way be unearthing more of a level of comfort with this draw that they have towards you, wanting to discuss this kind of energetic pull, maybe even wanting to let you know to keep going, that you're doing a good job, because whatever it is you're focusing on, it's been received by them. If they had been in the energy of resistance about this connection previously, this is definitely an indication of, again, kind of like the runner has become the chaser. So in some way, your redirection of focus has opened up the energies here for this person to really start to go inside and to soul search, to evaluate what were they running from in this situation? What have they been running from within themselves that was mirrored in this circumstance? So big questions here, existential questions here. And it feels that the vibration that they're seeing you at this point in time, or seeing you in at this point in time, or other things that you're focusing on, that you're building your skills at, that are your main focus and priority at this point in time, it's creating this sense of ease within this person, that if they had been very fearful before, they're starting to regard you as this safe space, kind of this idea of like nature, this sanctuary almost, where they're wanting to return to see if you can course correct from the past, compare notes, maybe aspects of the spiritual journey, journey, things that have changed in your life, things that are starting to change within their life. So with this energy of kind of focus and attention, there's this draw back to sort of formulating what to say. But again, timing might be off. There still might be this element of indecision, needing to gather more information and just keeping their feelings a secret at this point in time while they observe from afar. They also say we will be together again. So they are definitely moving out of a state of running from their feelings, running from the connection. It feels almost that when you gave up the pursuit in some manner by even just directing more of your attention to other things in your life that needed your focus, other things you have the ability to control and cultivate for yourself, the life that's right in front of you, as opposed to being very kind of stuck in your head about what's going on with this person from afar and just really picking at all of that energy. It's something that is helping them to see you in a different perspective, almost that you're allowing them the time and space to go down their own organic path and journey, whatever that might look like. And the allowance in that capacity is something which is causing them to kind of come full circle in how they're looking at you. The pressure that they once felt has been lifted to a great degree. And so now it's something where, without kind of this constant focus on trying to outrun their feelings, trying to outrun these energies, feeling very kind of backed into a corner, they're starting to inch their way toward a different sort of concept and understanding that maybe the connection can be salvaged in some way. Maybe you're needing to rebuild from the ground up, start fresh, start as friends. It feels like an openness here. The idea of we will be together again, they don't feel very committed to what that final idea is, what that's going to look like, but there's almost just this urge to move back into your orbit, back into your proximity, to in some way reinsert themselves in your life in a more direct manner. Whether this is, that you develop a friendship out of this, you start small, you start from scratch, you start at square one in this circumstance. For others of you, this is that they're seeing you in a fresh light that they had not been able to perceive before, or that was almost clouded by some kind of mask or illusion, maybe that you had put on for their benefit, kind of watering yourself down in order to prioritize their needs, their wants, to try not and not rock the boat in some manner. And as you've kind of like thrown that to the wayside and you've really stepped into the truth of who you are, it's allowing them to see you in a light that they maybe hadn't been able to perceive before. This idea also with secret and kind of these hidden elements of you coming more to the surface, and you've really given this person food for thought. It's a notion of sort of like having underestimated you in some way, undervalued you, or just in the past not really being able to perceive you from quite the angle that they are at this point in time. And what they are seeing, whatever it is that you're focusing on, and kind of how that's reflecting out in terms of your life, things that you have your attention on, any kind of changes that are taking place, even just energetically, a sense of wellness and wholeness within yourself, it's radiating out beautifully in a way that is drawing this person back in. They also say, I can't stop thinking about you. So that is that King of Swords energy and kind of watching from the shadows. They're perceiving you energetically. They're doing their research. They're looking you up on social media. It almost feels like for some of you, they're looking back on old photos of you and comparing that to like now. And there's just something energetically that's, you've bloomed, you've blossomed, you are so radiant at this point in time. And it feels that the more that they look at this, they can see that that was somewhere in your eyes, but maybe like buried deep within. And whatever else was going on in your life, maybe stress and chaos from this connection in the past, it caused that to be dimmed or obscured in some manner. And so they're seeing you now as somebody who really has managed very admirably to bring the outs, or bring the inside, bring who you are at the core level out into more of your dominant personality. There's a confidence here. You're moving with more of a sense of ease, being more comfortable in your skin, actively working to be that change you are wishing to experience in your life and in the world around you. And it's something that this person is they're really admiring. They're inspired by this. They're very drawn to this. They're very attracted to this. A lot of focus is on you at this point in time, kind of like all eyes on you with this person, trying to kind of catch a glimpse of you, again, like doing research, watching you on social media. If they are able to see you kind of in real time, this can definitely definitely be sort of like sneaking little glances, sneaking a peek at you every once in a while, going out of their way to try and, orchestrate some kind of chance meeting, or just to sort of catch a glimpse of you, a desire to kind of like draw in and be near to the proximity of this very empowered energy that you are holding at this point in time. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out. And I've actually added more initials to this initial bowl, so it may be more than just initials. It could actually spell something out for a change. So we'll just see what comes through. Okay, we've got K, C, L, T, Y, Q, Z, I, W, F, L, V, T, S, and N. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings about topics other than love, so spirituality, wellness, ascension, self-love. So if any of that sounds interesting, I invite you to check that out, and I thank you for your support there as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Amazonite along with the community card. And so to start with, to channel these energies here, this person is seeing you as somebody who is very family oriented. You are focused on surrounding yourself with people that have your best intentions at heart. You may be in a process of kind of discerning who you are devoting your energies to, a process of kind of cutting the grass real low in your social circle. Disconnecting from lopsided, one-sided, or toxic family connections, friendships, associates, becoming very discerning about who and what you are giving your time to. This is also the energy of having disconnected or moved on from some kind of like social group, or maybe even like a philosophy or a practice. In a sense, you've graduated from that. Maybe some of you are getting ready to graduate from school. You've been focused on that, focused on your studies, focused on, really kind of making the most of this experience, but there's a sense of almost like getting ready to move on from that, searching for new horizons. Maybe you are in this process of really becoming very particular about frequencies of people that you're dealing with, and really devoting yourself and opening yourself up more to people that are on that same wavelength as you, seeking out spiritual support perhaps, searching for, and it feels like surrounding yourself with, or only opening yourself up specifically at this time to people who resonate at the frequency of what you would consider soul family. In a sense, if there's a lot of kind of like drama that's been going on, they also see you as somebody who's really rising above that. You're not going to be somebody who's engaged in petty gossip. You're not focusing on sort of ruminating on the past, or holding grudges against people. It's almost like you're forgiving a lot of things, even just silently, in order to release yourself and to move forward in some kind of manner. This might even pertain to circumstances with them that they have sensed some kind of like energetic boomerang as you have forgiven them for certain things very silently and from afar, and maybe have closed the door in a certain way, or have disconnected from a hope of, vindication being provided. Maybe there's an apology that's owed that has been a long time coming, and it's almost like you've become that closure for yourself in a certain way. And this has been received by this individual. It's a sense of them almost feeling very left behind in some manner, or kind of like feeling that they're on the outside of your life, the outskirts of your life, looking in. Granted, they may have been the one that put themselves there, but it's almost a sense of where they had originally thought the distance would be good. Now there's like a yearning to sort of like get back in your good graces. Now that that door, that window of opportunity is not so readily accessible to them, it feels that they are almost trying to find a way in. They may be asking around about you, looking on social media, kind of like hiding out behind a fake profile even online to sort of like watch you from afar. A sense of even kind of jealousy that may be stirring up within this person about sort of who are you hanging out with, who you're exchanging energy with, this sense of kind of like your usual crowd, your old social circles, the way you are presenting yourself in kind of community or public settings has changed. You may have become a little more discerning. You may have really started to kind of keep your own counsel in a certain manner. You're not announcing a lot of your moves. You're kind of like moving in silence. It may have even been something where you've gone on kind of a detox from social media. You're in hermit mode. It's sort of radio silence from you, and it's almost creating this sense of sort of like panic, kind of like, where'd they go? What's happened? What's going on? This idea here kind of the mind sort of racing to all these possible scenarios, that you're spending your time with somebody else, that you've given up on them, that you're mad, that you're planning something, just all these different kind of thoughts and scenarios, like you don't care anymore. It almost feels to be something that if you had been at a point of sort of like questioning, was this connection all in your head? They feel to be in that energy right now because of some shift, some elevation or kind of up leveling in where you are directing your focus at this point in time. This person is now kind of left with all of this mental chatter right now, really kind of like diving down into some of these depths of maybe some lower vibrations, a little bit of fear-based thinking or paranoia, perhaps a sense of, again, if they were the one that created distance, it's almost like it doesn't feel as good as they might have thought that it originally would. Grass turned out to not to be greener on the other side, but that access point, that entry point, it's not the same as it once was. You've changed in a certain sort of way, and this is kind of like it's throwing them for a loop in a certain extent, where they're like, they don't know what to think about this, what to make of this, how to course correct, if that's even possible at this point in time in this situation. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper and see how else they view you and the connection at this point in time. So we have the Two of Pentacles, which is Earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. The Magician, which is Gemini. Queen of Swords, which is air energy, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. Memory. Strength. This last card, I need to draw some clothes on this imagery after I finish this video, but it's surrender, let go, freedom, flow. So let me see what I can cover this up with to make this YouTube friendly. There. Okay. So with this Two of Pentacles right here, this is definitely indicating that they are seeing you as somebody who is starting to make better choices for yourself in the material world, in terms of putting an end to like lopsided connections, things that have been very one-sided, things that you were carrying all the weight, you were giving more than you were receiving. You've become very discerning. Your cutoff game has improved in some manner, that you're being very proactive in kind of creating a different sort of future for yourself by becoming very cognizant of kind of the influences around you, the things that you are feeding energetically into your world, or even people that you at one point in time were confiding in that may have really been contributing dissonant vibrations, negative vibrations to the things that you were trying to cultivate. Perhaps that even includes this person themselves, where you've stepped into this energy of self-sufficiency almost. You know, the idea also with that let go, freedom, that you've really extracted yourself from maybe a perception, or this may have actually been kind of an aspect of shadow work that you have been endeavoring to work through, as a little bit of people pleasing or codependency that may have been the case before. And this may have not been limited to the circumstance with this individual. It almost feels that in some way this could have been the straw that broke the camel's back. If that was something that was experienced, you found yourself stepping into that energy, kind of fulfilling that role, maybe out of something that this person had projected towards you, that your default was to try and pick up the slack, to overgive. Maybe this person was sort of taking advantage of that in a certain way. And the idea here with memory, is really also bringing to mind kind of this energy of sort of creating this forgiveness for yourself, and yet not forgetting what that past looked like. It feels that in a lot of ways you've let go of a lot of things, some form of attachment to this situation and other circumstances in your life, where you're really cleaning house, you're really doing inventory, coming to this greater awareness of kind of these repeating cycles and patterns within yourself. Kind of like with this, the infinity loop here over the heart space. It's things that you've really been harboring within that have almost kept you running in circles, or like looping around in knots, that have kept you from healthy and reciprocal partnerships, that have kept you from moving toward wish fulfillment in a certain way, or have kind of interfered with the crafting of the life that you have wanted to experience. The idea of strength with this tiger here really speaks to, confronting that shadow aspect of self that they're seeing, even if they're kind of one of these people who's sort of on the outside now looking in. They see that it took a lot of courage and strength, maybe to set boundaries, to recognize this tendency within yourself, and to make the choice to course correct, to choose a different path of action, to not sit too long in the energy of blame of other people, or to be very hard on yourself, but that with grace and dignity you have kind of bowed out of certain circumstances, rather than it being kind of a big and explosive exodus. It's almost like you've just quietly disconnected. There's no need to engage in more of that drama. It's just rising beyond that. The door is closed. That chapter is over. And they're seeing this element of the way in which you moved through this, the tact, and kind of this strength and courage that it may have taken to disconnect in a certain manner from the dynamic with them, or other situations in your life, toxic dynamics with family or friends, even some kind of like self-talk that may have really been an issue. It goes beyond just sort of clearing the clutter in the material sense with the magician and all of these elements. It's like you've really gone within. You've traced back and kind of done some inner child healing. You've really sought out the root cause of these things that have manifested in this circumstance in the present, or in a lot of different kind of circumstances in your life in general, and you're taking personal responsibility for that. You're surrendering to the unknown, to this movement forward, to relinquishing the past and what has not been serving you for quite some time, or what no longer serves you in terms of the role that you almost just instinctually step into because of the types of people that you were calling into your existence up to this point in time. That you've gotten a lot more serious about that. You've kind of like let go of or relinquished a certain element of almost placating people. You're speaking your truth. You're willing to set those boundaries and barriers, to say no when you need to, without kind of regard of if that's going to upset somebody else. You may resonate as an empath, highly sensitive, and this could almost be something that is kind of leaning into that people pleasing or that codependency, because you're acutely able to feel that dissonant vibration in other people when they don't get their way, when something doesn't go with the flow of their agenda. And so this may have been something very unconscious within, that almost to keep things smooth, to even kind of prevent yourself from having to pick up on those kind of harsh vibrations of other people's disappointment, you almost just very unconsciously, like subconsciously, stepped into this place of kind of, putting your own needs secondary, doing all the heavy lifting in circumstances. Your kindness definitely could have been taken as weakness and taken advantage of in multiple circumstances. It feels for a lot of you in this circumstance with this person, with the idea of community. Then it also ties into a new support system that you have, some focus on personal empowerment, maybe sharing your story, talking about these things. Maybe for some of you, you're working with like a support group, you're working with a therapist, you're working with a counselor, you're engaged in self-help, you're doing research to try and like understand these patterns within yourself. And it's something that this person feels very left out of. It may also be something where there's a bit of kind of like jealousy or resentment almost because of the work that you are doing within to kind of forgive yourself for how you've been moving through connections up to this point in time, and to be willing to just give yourself that fresh slate of, now that you know better, you are going to do better, rather than sort of like ruminating on the past and things that can't be changed. It's an energy of like self-liberation and forward momentum, allowing the past to drift away, allowing things that don't serve your highest good to be cut out, trusting that they will be replaced with things which are healthier and more high vibration, as long as you are consistent in kind of creating that sense of health and wellness within yourself, raising that vibration within. This feels to be heavy lifting that this person hadn't either thought to do at this point in time, or they kind of, if they've endeavored it, they've only gone in just at the surface. They've only just kind of like put a toe into this, or they're ankle deep in this process, but you're not in the shallows. You've gone all in. You've gone into the depths. You may have just come through a period of like dark night of the soul, even with this energy of kind of being in hermit mode, detoxing from social media or from the company that you were keeping in some sort of way. What they are, it feels like energetically, they may be able to even perceive this, that underneath that kind of cloak of silence, there's a lot that's changing. There's a lot that's shifting. It's making them nervous because they're not sure what their place, if there is going to be a place in your life moving forward, what that's going to look like. It's a sense of, as you elevate, as you move beyond, they are almost needing to sort of face, if these were the things that you had to work on, what does that mean for them? What was their role in all of this? And what needs to be sort of changed and evaluated and addressed and released from within themselves? So it's kind of a bittersweet energy here. There's a bit of fascination with this, a sense of thinking that you're really brave, you're very courageous, that this is not easy work by any means, even if it seems like on the surface obvious, kind of like, okay, if it's not a healthy and reciprocal connection, you cut that person off and you move forward. This is something that it feels like maybe you've talked about this with this person, or they understand this dynamic, or in some way certain aspects of this are mirrored within them, that specifically with the nature of some of these connections in general. These can be like, close family members, close friends, people you've known for a long time. This isn't just the energy of passing strangers, but it's getting like real particular in sort of the circle that is around you, and really distilling that out, raising the bar, setting new standards, establishing new rules for that, holding people to a higher level of expectation than you had in the past. and that this may be something that's, it's ruffling a lot of feathers. It's creating a sense of almost, you're clearing space, and you may find yourself very alone at this point in time. But it's also kind of like reaching towards and gravitating toward soul family, soul connections that resonate with this more balanced vibration of who you are inside. Some of you may not have intersected with these other people yet. And so again, it's this idea of like strength and courage, that you're willing to walk this path alone. You're willing to kind of shut the door on things that are holding you back, keeping you stuck and kind of tied in knots, that just keep going round and repeat themselves without different results. And so this person is kind of like encouraged, but at the same time, they're feeling that sorrow of the more distorted version of you that they had been accustomed to, and feeling very left behind just with the memory of that. But the actuality of who you are has transcended in a lot of ways. And it feels to be something that's also, it's raised the bar for them. It's raised the standard, kind of like, if you could do it, what's their excuse for not? So I'm going to get some messages from their higher self right now and see, what does this person want to tell you? Okay, and they say, you don't know how hard it was to let you go. So that ties into the idea of clearing away energies, cutting away things. This may have even been something where they kind of got a nudge from their higher self that caused them to sabotage this connection. Some sort of an inclination within them that you were entering into a phase of growth and evolution, and that the vibration they were currently at, there was no room for them in this. Rather than kind of like bowing out gracefully, they may have done it in a very messy manner. They may have triggered you to the point where you had no other choice but to shut the door to them. And so it feels to be something that it's almost, they're not fully accepting responsibility for their role in that at this point in time. It's kind of like, I did this in order to free you so that you could help yourself. Like they're still kind of playing the victim in this sense. And so a little bit of, again, there's an uphill climb that they need at this point in time. And it's something where they are feeling the distance. They're feeling that you have outgrown them. The entry point that they once had, the place where you connected with one another vibrationally, that channel it doesn't exist anymore. And in order to kind of move back into your world, in order to find a place in your new reality, it requires some up leveling on their part. But it's almost just like, they're very stuck in place. They're very sort of like stuck in their own cycles and patterns that were mirroring, or were kind of the counterweight, the counterbalance, the counterpart to whatever this distortion was within you that you are in the process of transcending. So maybe this is something that as you continue on this journey, that they are motivated to begin where they are with what they have in front of them, to start to, do that more of that deeper dive within, to release themselves, to understand some of these patterns, and to choose something different from what they have up to this point in time. They also say, I am grateful for the spiritual lesson. So this is tying into the sense of feeling very left out in the cold, kind of watching you grow, watching you evolve, watching you become this distant point on the horizon for them day by day. And it's been a lesson for them, kind of, sort of evolve or wither. And they feel to be in this energy right now of at least the opportunity with you, or the experience they had with you, a previous manifestation of that, it has withered. It is withering away. It does not exist anymore. That there's been a lesson in that it didn't need to happen this way. Things didn't need to go south, and they didn't need to become twisted in the way that they became, to the point where either this person self-sabotaged or you needed to cut things off. Maybe even in just kind of distance between the two of you, and you made the decision to move forward in other ways, to become that vindication for yourself, to forgive and release. And there's been a lesson in that. If they had taken you for granted and assumed you would always just be there to welcome them back in, that you would, continue to enable them, or, continue to minimize or make your own sort of needs secondary in the interest of prioritizing them and their wants and their needs, and them being kind of in control of the direction that the connection was being steered. All of that, when you took your power back from that with the Magician here, and you've reclaimed your sovereignty and you're headed in a new direction, you're prioritizing self first and foremost, that this is something that it's an example to this person almost of ways in which they have not been doing that in their own life. There's now work that they need to do. This has been a lesson that has been learned. It feels like a very painful lesson. It's sort of like the energy of, where'd you go? This may have been a long time coming, but they just were taking the situation for granted, and then all of a sudden you're detaching and they're looking around like, what happened? Why am I suddenly on the outskirts? Why is it not so easy to just access your energy? Why is that sort of feeding portal not as open or available? Why are you not just there when I want you to be? Feels all of that has really caught them by surprise, and so they too may be in a process of getting ready to sort of descend into their personal darkness. A bit of frustration at this point in time. Again, all of this sort of like mental chatter about what to do from this point in time. Very ironic if they put themselves out in the cold to be now in this position where they're not liking that. They're not liking that distance. It's definitely come back around to them, and they're seeing it in a different sort of way that is really sending the message home that this isn't comfortable and this might not have been the right decision or approach in this circumstance. And they also say, I will wait for a sign from you. So they feel to be in an energy where they are recognizing that you in some way have like the upper hand in the situation, that you've taken your power back, that you're not going to settle for their previous approach to you, and that it's almost like you are the one now in the position to open that door or to continue to move forward in another way in your life. They're recognizing that some kind of opportunity has passed, something where you had really been allowing them to be in the driver's seat. They had more control in this circumstance and situation. You again have taken that power back into yourself. You're focusing that on healthier connections, on growing, on moving out of survival mode into this place of thriving. And so it's something where it's again like this passive energy, a projective energy, where they're not necessarily feeling very motivated to change at this point in time, but just kind of very stuck in the vibration that you have transcended beyond in a certain manner. Perhaps the further that you continue to go on their journey, what they are able to see, what they're able to perceive, this might motivate them to start to make changes to play catch up in terms of if reconciliation is possible in this circumstance. It may be something that even off of like a competitive kind of energy, they don't want to be outdone or left behind, and so it motivates them to start doing the work within. Kind of like the roundabout approach, the long way to some very necessary changes that need to happen. But it feels at this point in time that you keep drifting into a higher vibration, you keep moving forward into something else for yourself, and they're just very stuck in place and feeling the distance, feeling the separation, regretting that they are not kind of closer to you at this point in time, or that whatever has transpired in the past or whatever they have enacted in the past has led to this space where they're on the outside of your life now looking in. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. And I've added more initials into my initials bowl, so it might actually spell something out this time as opposed to just being initials. So we'll see what comes out. Okay, we've got O, G, F, G, T, W, N, V, H, A, S, A, L, B, and J. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings centered around everything except for love. So topics such as spirituality, ascension, wellness, and self-love. So if any of that sounds interesting, I invite you to check that channel out. I thank you for your support there as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the clear calcite along with the preparation card. So to start with channeling with this, this feels to be an energy of this person really looking at you as somebody with whom there is long-term potential. If there's distance or separation between the two of you, they may be preparing themselves to move back in your direction, to make some kind of confession, to try and work things out, to build a bridge between the disconnect that you are experiencing. They're seeing you as somebody who has really cultivated a sense of value and worth about yourself that maybe was a work in progress before. In some way, you've really stepped into the next phase of your journey. There's a sense of having moved through some kind of initiation period, maybe spiritually speaking. Maybe this is something where you're kind of like gearing toward future goals in a certain manner. Your life experiences up to this point in time are things that you are not using as limitations or walls or barriers to what you can become, but it's almost they're seeing you as somebody who has this ability to creatively navigate beyond challenges, which is a very desirable quality that they are seeing for somebody in terms of long-term partnership. That this is something that the two of you together almost could overcome any sort of challenges that you may face individually or together. This may be something where anything that's lacking for yourself in terms of opportunities, maybe opportunities for abundance. Some of you are going back to school. Some of you are becoming more conscientious about your finances, planning for the future, really kind of like settling down and prioritizing and looking at the big picture rather than just living solely in the moment, solely in the now, very unbothered by consequences, beyond tomorrow, that there's a sense of kind of like a wider perspective. What is the future going to look like? What direction am I heading? What are my efforts at this point in time? Where are those taking me in a certain way? This also feels to be something where a lot of behind the scenes work that you have been doing, that this person is seeing you as very hardworking, very diligent. You may be preparing to launch some kind of a business, some kind of a platform, a channel perhaps. You've been doing your research, you've been doing that groundwork, you've been doing that legwork. You may be kind of in this energy of sort of operating between two polarities almost, where you've got your day-to-day responsibilities, you've got your 9 to 5. You're somebody who's very dedicated to meeting those obligations and responsibilities, but you are also really prioritizing for yourself and making sacrifices where necessary and appropriate to be able to carve out that extra time or to prioritize these chunks of time in your day that you're devoting to other kind of dreams and goals you have, things in the long term that you're wanting to bring forth or cultivate, rather than just going through the motions and kind of like living in the comfortable security of what you have in front of you at this point in time, what you've been in for a period of time, any kind of like ruts or cycles that you've been in. They're really seeing you as somebody who's getting prepared to kind of have an up leveling in some way. You're getting ready to like jump into the next stage of your life in some manner. Again, this energy of kind of like the sacrifices and the hard work and the effort that you've been putting in They're really seeing you as somebody who's getting ready to step into some kind of like star potential. You're getting ready to kind of move up in an echelon or a bracket in some kind of way. They're seeing the choices that you've made, the ways in which you have maybe put a lot on your plate. You're juggling a lot at this point in time. That it's something to where in the past they may have felt very neglected. If you didn't really have time for them or time for the connection, you had other things you were trying to work on. They're now seeing the bigger picture, a vision that you were maybe working toward that only you were aware of, that it's come into form in some sort of way, or they've been sort of given the sight to kind of have a peek behind that curtain. Maybe it's something that you've said to them if you're still in contact with one another, where they kind of see your bigger plan of action. They see this vision that you are working toward in terms of goals and visions, things that they are preparing for. They again are seeing you as this companion for them, that in the past they may have kind of questioned if you were an adequate match for one another. Maybe this is kind of like an opposites attract situation. It feels to be something where they are starting to shift this perception and seeing like your strengths really compensate for their deficits. Your work ethic complements theirs. Your personality helps to stabilize theirs in a certain manner. Or your groundedness is a good kind of like landing spot for their exuberance and enthusiasm, or vice versa in all of that. They're starting to really see all of this, even see a period of separation between the two of you, the necessity of that, how this has almost been an initiatory phase in and of itself, that the separation has been a blessing, something each of you have needed to cultivate individually within yourselves that couldn't have been done together. You need to almost move apart in order to, have these kind of converging paths sort of like further down the road. So it is something to where even the difficulties you faced up to this point in time with one another, if you've transcended a lot of these things, it's almost like they've settled into this place within themselves of seeing that it's been worth it. The struggle has been worth it. It's almost like ways in which you've needed to fight for the connection in some way, even just fight fears from within, that it's kind of lended to the value of this connection, the way in which you are able to value and appreciate one another. Or if you're still in this process of kind of the parallel paths, the parallel journeys, they've been given some kind of a glimpse, or are in a place of openness within themselves where it's a sense that the story between you is not over. They're preparing to kind of come back in, a sense of, even if that is an unknown point on the horizon, reconciliation, starting over, beginning again. That it's something that it may just be a rest stop that they're at right now in terms of their journey. They're catching their breath, they're looking around, they've overcome some challenges, maybe you have as well, and they feel very connected to you, very in sync with you at this point in time. And it's giving them almost this motivation to continue down whatever path each of you are needing to walk very independently, until you reach this space of being able to come back to one another, strengthened, refined, more in your authenticity, more in your purpose, having cultivated abundance for yourselves independently in preparation of what you're then able to combine and build and grow together as a couple moving forward. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into how they are viewing you and the connection right now. Okay, so we have the Page of Cups, which is water energy, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. Knight of Wands, which is fire energy, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Knight of Pentacles, which is earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Sacred. Defend. And Fawn, beginnings, willingness, opportunities. So if you are in separation with one another, the regenerative powers of the starfish here really tie into this idea of wanting to come back together stronger, independently, through what has transpired for each of you on your separate journeys, that it's almost, this has been a necessary period of loss in order for something new to develop, for something new to grow out of what has kind of drifted away between the two of you. There's a sense of the story not being over. There's an urge to rush towards you with this Knight of Wands to give you some kind of an offer, perhaps even pop into your reality, very surprising, to bring forth some kind of truth, express the wisdom that they have learned along their path, to compare notes with you, to express this interest in fighting for the connection. They're seeing this as something very precious. They're cherishing this. They're cherishing, even the difficult lessons between the two of you as kind of the necessary growing pains for something to be unearthed, some kind of strength within each of you, some sort of determination within each of you that has been catalyzed through your interactions with one another, together and separately. And as much as there's this urge to rush back in, there's also a lot of discernment, a need to kind of like take the situation slowly. There's interest here in investing in a new beginning, but at the same time, not wanting to come in so quickly or recklessly, or kind of like learning from the wisdom of the past. Like the past and whatever fell apart was preparation for whatever the energies of regeneration might look like. That this time around, it will be handled with a little more tact. This time around, there's an interest in kind of like grounding this down into reality, opening up very slowly. It feels that this person is very aware of kind of this electric connection between the two of you, the intensity and nature of the energies, that once those are tapped into in a more direct physical manner, once those are turned on, it's something that's very hard to control. It's something that's very hard to navigate. It may have been something that even with this kind of the Scorpio energy, the scorpion here, like death and rebirth, this is something where you could have catalyzed one another into some kind of a spiritual awakening, like Kundalini activations, dark night of the soul, just ascension, all kinds of disruptions that may still be very fresh in this person's memory, where the idea of coming back together with you, there's almost a need to kind of take it a little bit slower than you did before, so that the nature and intensity of this bond between the two of you, this very kind of like otherworldly next level connection, that it has the ability to ground down into material reality bit by bit. You're able to lay a firm foundation with one another, kind of preparing for the storm and the intensity of further activations, all the kind of like telepathy and the deep sensitivity and the things, where you're connected at the chakra level, and it's just this deep level of profound soul knowing, visions, downloads, past life recollections, all these things that are very outside of the ordinary, that could have in the past led to distance and separation in this, almost needing to take some breathing room from this circumstance to try and figure these things out, to try and move through some sort of personal initiatory phase, very independent of one another. It feels that they are very cognizant that despite the distance, the intensity of this bond, it still remains very active. It's very much alive. And so the idea of kind of moving in closer to you, it does fill them with a bit of wariness, where they're needing to kind of like protect and defend some sort of foundation for themselves, some place within where they have come to a state of being able to kind of manage this energy, the exchange between the two of you, and whatever's really been brought online or awakened within themselves. They may be just kind of fresh out of this regenerative period, having just kind of come out of a dark night of the soul, or reach kind of a plateau in this journey where there's still so much to learn, and yet they feel they have a really good base, something to really offer. They've done their homework, they laid some sort of foundational work, and there's an interest in kind of rebuilding this situation, starting from the ground up, but a need to take things very slowly, so that the two of you don't overwhelm one another. So there's not this kind of shorting out of the energies between the two of you. It's something where they are almost, it feels like they're in touch with themselves enough to recognize that there will still be aspects that are really triggered within each of you. And so they're very consciously aware of that, which may be causing kind of this guardedness, a need to approach very slowly, as much as they are wanting to rush in, to be very spontaneous, to surprise you. This feels like with this idea of preparation, where they almost might be in a little bit of kind of shadowy Knight of Pentacles energy, over planning, over strategizing, trying to move just a little too slowly, almost where they're kind of digging their heels in, and yet they're being dragged back towards you, magnetized back towards you. This knowledge that there's more to the story between you, and so this maybe even be something they're grappling with right now, having to relinquish control issues and just move into the space of trust, that what will be in this circumstance, that whatever you were operating at before, kind of this newness, almost blindedness to the nature of a connection of this sort. Time has passed. You've each acclimated somewhat to it. You've gone on your separate paths, on your separate journeys, and yet they're still a little bit shy. They're still thinking back on, remember how difficult that was the first time around when we kind of freshly awakened one another. This could definitely be twin flame energy right here. And, again, this idea of kind of two people who were activated, two people who were really turned on by this situation, energetically speaking, really opening them to a different kind of concept of their journey in this life, elements of spirituality, concepts such as energy, all of these different things that you have each needed to work on in your parallel paths, that there's an interest in resuming connection with you, but a strong, almost like a fear or a wariness of, or a hesitation of what if things fall apart again, just like they did the first time? What if we're not ready? Like, what if I'm not ready for this at this point in time? As much as they've reached a place of feeling very grounded and stable, kind of having regenerated in a certain way, feeling stronger at this point in time than they may have previously, it's still, sort of this hesitation. They don't know what to expect, so it's a degree of caution. It's almost like they're tiptoeing towards you at this point in time, but they are definitely viewing you as somebody that they are wanting to resume contact with. They're wanting to explore this more deeply. They're wanting to move in closer to you, energetically speaking, and in the material world. They're putting the brakes on very deliberately in themselves. And it really demonstrates kind of this growth within themselves, that they've cultivated discernment in some way. It feels like an old version of this person would have just rushed in very impulsively, would have responded to that signal within them, and would have just come in a very chaotic way. And it may have been sort of, you may have gone through several cycles of this, of kind of coming together only to fall apart again. But it feels like at this stage they've really they have learned some kind of lesson from that. They're sitting in more of this energy of wisdom and discernment, as much as they are in kind of this beginner's mind, a willingness to try again, to start over, to approach this from a different angle than they had previously. The experiences of the past, the sting of what had happened, what had fallen apart, and what they've needed to kind of deal with or grapple with in the aftermath of separation between the two of you. That feels to be something that is causing them to lead with a degree of caution. So if this person does reach out to you, which it's quite likely here that they may pop up very unexpectedly, maybe just coming through in kind of like a friendship energy, maybe a little bit of flirtation, it feels to be they're going to hold themselves back initially from kind of going all into this circumstance, trying to lay some sort of a foundation of getting to know one another again, reestablishing some kind of friendship, something which they're hoping will be a base upon which then, as you sort of open into these deeper energies, as you kind of expand more and you move in closer to one another, there's a hope that solid foundation will be adequate preparation for the intensity and storms and like triggering that may come up, or even just the nature of kind of these very volatile and primordial and powerful and intense energies, which even in separation and distance continue to flow between the two of you. And as intense as it is while you're at a distance, there's almost like a sense of, I hope that we can handle it when we come closer together in the physical world this time around, because the last time, or the last several times, it ended very badly. It ended with a lot of kind of hurt and loss, and pieces needed to be picked up. But they're still hopeful. They're hopeful that this situation can be salvaged, that it can be resurrected, and it feels like they're trying a different approach from what they may have used or employed previously with you. So I'm going to get some messages from their higher self and see, what does this person want to tell you right now? Okay, and they say, I look for you everywhere. So this is tying into a lot of signs and synchronicities that they are getting. They, as much as they feel to be kind of deliberately planning an approach to you, it feels like they are actively at this point in time looking for a window of opportunity, hoping that perhaps the divine will orchestrate some sort of chance meeting that will fast track this process of opening those lines of communication again, developing something more between the two of you, working toward reconciliation. Rather than looking away and sort of shutting their eyes to this connection. This is something where, they've looked into things. They may have looked into concepts such as soulmate or twin flames. They've looked deeply within themselves. They are very cognizant of certain triggers within. Things on their part that had contributed to what fell apart in the past. And there's a desire to almost like see beyond, or they're encouraging you to see beyond this perception of 3D separation, to understand that it's been a preparation period. It's been things that you each have needed to accomplish individually that couldn't have been accomplished together. But that this is really setting the stage for a new horizon, a new kind of vantage point of what's possible. A new perspective that they have cultivated within themselves that they're trying to bring into this connection moving forward. They also say, I want to be more than friends. So this can tie into the idea of setting that foundation of friendship, coming forth in a very kind of innocent energy to you, but behind that that mask or some kind of an excuse, or just a very lighthearted and non-committal energy, not in the sense of like a player, but just wanting to take things very slow, that there is a deep desire to advance this connection, to invest in this as something long-term. They see long-term potential, and it's almost, patience feels to be something that is necessary in this situation, and that they are seeing will perhaps yield different results from the way things had fallen apart between you in the past. But there's also this need to build that foundation of friendship, something that you can stand upon, something that you can rely upon before you open up to exploring matters of the heart, or that deep, intimate connection with one another, which in the past had brought with it such a visceral energy flowing between the two of you, this otherness, this high vibrational electric kind of energy, that they're not wanting to become overwhelmed by that. They're not wanting you to become overwhelmed by that. As much as there's like signs and synchronicities at a distance, it feels that when you are in closer proximity to one another, those are just amplified. The telepathy which exists at a distance, it's almost like conversations within conversations that take place. It's like in real time, as they're speaking words to you verbally, they are able to perceive their higher self and your higher self having a conversation. It's something which it may feel very crowded, very cluttered. It's something which it feels like very overwhelming and confusing, very scary to them in the past. They feel to have moved into this energy of coming to some deeper understanding about that, again through like research. They've looked things up. They're a little more well-versed in kind of what's going on, the nature of the spiritual aspects of this situation. And yet at the same time, they are wary, it feels like, almost of their ego mind or the wounded place within them that might kind of run up into this overly logical sort of perception and start sending out these signals of fear that could cause them to run away again. They're wanting to avoid that. And so it again is the necessity of like building slowly, building from the ground up, to create a different future for the two of you. Maybe this is something where you didn't have that basis of friendship before, and they've really learned from that, that in the struggles and the turmoil, it's like thinking that if you had that basis first and foremost, this could even apply to introspection that they've done about what's gone wrong in other romantic connections, that it's like the situations where that base of friendship was lacking or had not been built first, those are the connections that were the quickest to crumble, that could not withstand the pressure of kind of the tides of life that just interfered. And so there's this need, there's this priority. It's a sense of that this situation is very precious. The idea of reconciliation is precious, and they want to do things right. They want to do things with long-term energy at the forefront of this circumstance. This isn't someone who just wants to come in and kind of toy with your emotions, or come in to break your heart all over again, or come in for a good time and then run off again. It's they're wanting to invest in the long term. This idea of like taking things slowly. It's a preparation for deep and enduring energies that they are hoping to experience with you. And they also say you speak to me through music. So that again confirms that there's a lot of signs, synchronicities, songs, downloads, all kinds of chatter and communication that still is happening through any kind of distance or separation, or even if this is somebody who's in your life at this point in time and maybe it hasn't evolved beyond friends. This could be where they're like holding back, wanting to, express something more, wanting to create balance and harmony in this situation with you, struggling at this point in time to find the words, or to really find that kind of courage to take that step forward, where they're needing to be very methodical to sort of like plan this out, all the steps of what they want to happen, so that it's kind of like the best possible outcome is guaranteed in as much of a way as that is ever possible in matters of the heart. But it's something where they're wanting to move into the energy of peace, out of dissonance, out of misunderstandings, and to create clarity, to create, to make some kind of sense out of this. What you've experienced together in the past, where you're both at in your lives right now, and where you are wanting to build toward very mutually in the future. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. And I've added more initials into my initial bowl, so it may actually spell something out instead of just be a handful of initials this time. So we'll see what comes through. Okay, we've got T, P, X, C, G, L, F, G, R, M, W, T, K, and H. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of topics other than love, so things such as spirituality, ascension, wellness, and self-love. If any of that sounds interesting, I invite you to check that channel out. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.